Hi folks, it's James here. Welcome to another video. This is going to be my final attempt to clear the vinyl inbox before Christmas, so let's get straight down to it. In the background you can hear this record. This is Sonny Rollins. Picked this up from Oxfam a couple of days ago, and it's a double album compilation. Lots of tracks on this I have already. They're from either Saxophone Colossus or they're from Sonny Rollins Plus 4, or I've got them on a CD compilation. But it's a really nice record. St Thomas, Strode Road, Tenor Madness is on here. Lots and lots of great musicians. Thelonious Monk, Billy Joe Jones, Paul Chambers, Clifford Brown, Art Blakey. It's a monster. Right, so this next one, picked this up from my local market stand quite a while ago now, just haven't got around to showing it. This is Johnny Guitar Watson, who is a Texas blues guitarist, and he sort of had two careers. He had a sort of early career where he was just more of a normal blues guitarist, and then he went on then to have a second career where he went much more down a kind of outlandish rhythm and blues, funky kind of direction. Think Sly Stone. On this record too, think Prince as well. Quite a few of the tracks on this record come from the 80s, I think, so they've got synths on them and very sort of disco-y, dancey kind of vibe to it. Great Saturday night album, great fun, and I couldn't leave it behind with that cover. Very sort of outlandish and flamboyant, great stuff. This one as well, this was a cheapie. This was from, I think this was from Oxfam. This is Saturday Night at the Apollo, which is a live soul album featuring Otis Redding, Benny King, the Coasters, Rufus Thomas, the Falcons, and Doris Troy, who pop pickers will know her name. She is one of the backing singers on The Dark Side of the Moon. Her records are very hard to find, so I grabbed this one. It's on the Atlantic Special label, which is quite nice, and yeah, it's just a kind of live, kind of soul review type record. Very good, good fun. Okay, next we move to the realms of, let me see, a Canadian, I think, singer-songwriter, born in England but moved to Canada. Had one big hit single with Hot Child in the City. This is Nick Gilda, who came up in the 1970s. This is 1978. It's got a real glam sound to it. It's a bit kind of T-Rex, quite funky in places. Elsewhere it goes a little bit kind of early 80s, new wave, bit kind of soft rock in places. Intriguing combination. He's got a very interesting voice, very high pitched. He sounds very androgynous. I mean, the first time you hear him, it's difficult to know whether you're listening to a man or a woman. I picked this up from Bernardo's, I think, the charity shop. It was still in the shrink, still shrink wrapped, since 1978, and it was about £2. And I'd seen Chris at Vinyl Transmission talking about Nick Gilda only a couple of weeks before, I think, and he was talking about this record in glowing terms, so I thought I'd give it a try, and yeah, I enjoyed it. Yeah, he's written songs for lots of other people in his career, and he's done soundtrack work as well. His actual pop career was over quite quickly, I think, but he's still active on the circuit today, as they say. That's Nick Gilda and City Nights. Okay, a couple of Van the Man albums. Picked up Inarticulate Speech of the Heart, and just realised I'm showing these in the wrong order, but it doesn't matter really. This one comes from 1983, and it's one of his new agey type albums. Not particularly well regarded, I don't think, in the Van's back catalogue, but I enjoyed it. Very kind of spectral, floaty kind of sound. Some nice songs. It's a bit compromised with the 80s production, but there's lots of musicians on here as well. He's got a great big band. There's an organ player, there's guitarists, there's pipe players, there's saxes, flutes, all sorts. Nice record. And this one comes from 1977. This is A Period of Transition, which is the album he made with Dr. John, Mac Rubberneck. Doesn't have a spectacular reputation, this record, but I really enjoyed it. I think if you take it for what it is, which is a kind of funky, bluesy Van album with some, Mac Rubberneck, New Orleansy piano stylings in it, it's good fun. I mean, the songs are not incredible, but I was pleasantly surprised. It's one of those things where you don't have any particular expectations that a record is going to be great, and then it turns out to be actually alright. So yeah, enjoyed that. So in the new year I'm hopefully going to be doing a Van Morrison collection video, because I do have quite a few of his records now. So those two were from my local antique centre, as were the next two, and these two were real amazing pickups. In fact, the next three, actually the next 5 records are all, in my book anyway, amazing pickups. The first one, not particularly great Neil Young album, this is Reactor, but I mean, I never see Neil's albums in the wild, ever. This comes from 1981, it's one of the Crazy Horse ones, very loose kind of Crazy Horse rock and roll sound to it. Not a great album, but it's just one for the collection. You know, I can't leave Neil Young albums behind when I see them. So that's Reactor. This one I was even more pleased to find, because this is one of Neil's classic albums. This is Comes a Time, which comes from 1978, and it's one of his great kind of ruminative, introspective, beautifully melodic records. And it's a nice copy. There's a bit of a coffee stain down here, but it's in pretty good condition. I got it for a great price. I only picked this one up on CD not all that long ago, so yeah, absolutely thrilled to bits to find that. And this next one actually, also I picked up on CD a while ago, and then I found it on vinyl from the Antique Centre. This is Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, and the record You're Gonna Get It, which was his second album. I think at the time it wasn't particularly seen as a great sequel to the first album, but I mean it's a really good record. It's very stripped back, it's hard rocking. It's got the song Baby's a Rock and Roller on it. It's got a great sound to it. This looks to be an original copy, 1978, so yeah. I think I've got all Tom Petty's records now, from the first one up through to Full Moon Fever. The collection gets a bit patchy after that. Okay, 2 more classics and then a daft one to finish with. Picked these 2 up from my local market stand, Heightside Records. They were both kind of grails. Let's not be too embarrassed about using the term. The first Black Sabbath album. I think both these 2 are 80s reissues. Yeah, I was absolutely over the moon to find these. This was the album where I think Ozzy Osbourne said that he took the record home to play for his parents, and his dad sat and listened to it all the way through and then turned to him and said, "Are you sure you're not taking drugs?" Which is quite a funny story. So yeah, classic Sabbath debut with this scary goth girl in the middle distance and the foreboding crow in the tree. Can't beat it. And then this one also picked up from my local market stand, Masters of Reality. I think this is another reissue. This was their 3rd album. I was reading about this. This one, apparently, this is the album where they first started, where Tony Iommi first started to detune his guitar strings, because he was in pain with his finger, because he'd had the industrial accident at the factory in Birmingham, lost a couple of his fingers. I always assumed that he started doing that detuning thing quite early on, but apparently it was the 3rd album where they discovered that sound. And this record is now seen as being really influential on the whole kind of sludge doom metal kind of scene. So yeah, again, I think it's an 80s reissue. I think it comes from 1985 maybe, and it's on this NEMS label. There we go. So yeah, the Sabbath collection continues. I've got 2 or 3 more to find, and then it'll be complete. Hooray! Right, so last record, a really silly one. Pinky and Perky, Nursery Rhymes. I picked this up from Bernardo's charity shop the other day for about 50p. The reason is this was the first record I ever owned. When I was about 3 years old, I was given a Danzig record player, and on the turntable was a copy of this record, and I never had the jacket. I loved it. I think the first piece of music I ever queued up myself, you know, using a stylus, using a needle arm on a record player, was this. It was Oranges and Lemons, Say the Bells of St. Clemens. And that red label, it just takes me straight back to my earliest childhood. I actually lost the record many years ago, no idea what happened to it, and like I said, I never really had the jacket, so I thought I'd grab it. Pinky and Perky were a pair of singing pigs who were around in the 1960s. They used to record Beatles songs and nursery rhymes and all sorts. I actually still have it actually, an EP of them singing Beatles songs, so yeah. I thought I'd love to have this in the collection, you know, with a kind of sleeve on it, and just have it on the shelf along with all my other albums. A great kind of homecoming really, given that it was the first record I ever actually owned. Right, there we go. I've tried to keep it short this time because my last video was rather long. We'll be back soon, before Christmas hopefully, with another video. Not going to do a Christmas themed one this year, but it'll be a special, you know, some kind of special video of some kind. So look out for that, and I'll see you all soon. Take care folks, bye bye.